welcome. Anke Herman here, and I have the enormous pleasure to present you another sewing business success story with the lovely Sally Lesser from New York today. So welcome, Sally. Nice to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, that's very exciting. And I can see you're in your awesome studio.
Yes.
So tell me, Sally, first of all, tell people where you are, where you're from, and what you're doing.
Okay, well, I am a proud Brooklynite. I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I am a flamenco dressmaker and a theatrical costume designer. And I am the luckiest person in the world because I have this fabulous studio in Brooklyn, and I get to come in and be creative here. It's great.
So who are your clients and what are you making?
Well, I have found that it's hard to make enough money just making flamenco costumes.
Mm-hmm.
And my flamencas are always trying to get a better, cheaper price. And so what I do is balance my flamenco work with other kinds of private clients. I've done bridal dresses. I'm currently making a recital dress for a high school senior who's doing a tap dance.
Wow.
And I design plays, and I do alterations for people, and pretty much whatever comes my way that is appealing to me and helps me pay my rent, I am up for.
That sounds great. So how long have you been running your business in that form? Because you've been in the industry for a long time, but your own business, the shape it's got now, how long have you been doing that?
I started this business at sort of the end of 2011 on a very limited basis because I had a full-time job at the time, designing costumes for a soap opera called One Life to Live, which I did for 20 years.
Wow.
And by 2011, the handwriting was on the wall that the show was going to close. They couldn't really afford to keep it open anymore. And there were more days off, more weeks off. And I had begun to think, I wish I could be sewing again. I really miss that. And so I rented a space through a designer friend of mine, a share in a space in 2011. And over time, when my job ended in the end of that year, I was already had a little business set up and I started to do it more full time. And it's just grown until now I have my own studio. I don't have to share anymore. And now this is just what I'm doing.
That's fantastic. I love it. And so when did you learn to sew? How did you get into sewing in the first place?
I got into sewing through my grandparents.
Oh.
My mother's father was a tailor, and my father's mom was a very avid hobbyist. She sewed, crocheted, knitted, embroidered, all those things. And so between the two of them, they gave me some lessons, and then my mother sent me to Singer Sewing Machine in the neighborhood, had a class.
And she was hooked.
And I was hooked, from doll clothes to the first thing I made on my own without asking for help was my graduation dress from 8th grade. And I did not know that when you make a square neckline, you have to cut into the corner or you will never be able to turn the thing. So by the time I wore it, the edges were kind of gray from me pushing it with my fingers.
I can picture it. That's funny.
That's my grandmother saying, "Why didn't you ask me, dear? You have to cut into that corner." So that's how it started.
And yeah, that's fantastic. And it's funny because I started learning from my grandma as well, and with doll clothes and yeah, sort of same thing. And it's something that sort of never went away in all those years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's your favorite part of the day now?
You know, when I was sharing a studio, they had a rule at the end of the day, the shop has to be cleaned. The floor has to be swept. Everything has to be put away because we're sharing with 4 women and somebody might have a last minute fitting. You don't want to come in and see old coffee cups on the table and everything. And I have kept that habit. And so every day is a new possibility.
Oh,
And
that's
when I
beautiful.
come into the space and it's clean and it's just a wonderful feeling. And there's nothing like starting with a piece of fabric that's folded, and at the end of the day, you've created something 3-dimensional.
Yes, that's the thing. That I think that's the fascination for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Just that fresh feeling.
Yeah.
Love it.
So you're offering made to measure custom garments, don't you?
Primarily, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, when I don't have work, then I open the boxes and I just make things for fun. And then I sell them as samples. And I've been to Spain where I go and I buy complementos, accessories that I also sell, earrings and things like that. Flecos are very popular here in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm having a feria sale at the end of next week. So right now I'm making little aprons because
I love those.
that's the new
Yeah, I make loads of those.
love
Yeah.
aprons. So, and they're small and they're quick to make. So that's fun.
Yeah, they're great. Actually, I want to come back to the custom garments because it's a topic that comes up a fair bit, and often you hear people sort of, they want to make things, but they sort of shy away from sewing for people. Like, what if they don't like what I make?
Mm-hmm.
How are you dealing with that? Or do you even have the problem? Or is that something that even comes up?
I find that people will come to me and say, often in kind of a shy way almost, oh, would you be able to make me a skirt, or would you be able to make me a dress? And I say, yes, of course. I would love to. To make something that I just imagine is always very fun. However, I'm very particular about the fit. And when I make something that fits my dress form, the chances are it's not really, a lot of people can try it on before it does fit them. And so, I much prefer to just make things for people. And there does seem to be a market for it. And I find that once someone has had something made, they are often coming back because it's so amazing to have something made.
Yeah.
I have had people say, well, I don't like having something made because there are too many decisions. Every little detail is another decision. And so I've adjusted in giving my clients less choices because I thought that they would want to have all those choices. But now I will just say to them, well, we're going to finish the ruffles like this, or I think we should finish the neckline like this. And then if they don't want that or have another idea, obviously they can tell me that. But that has been the objection I found from people.
Yeah.
It's just daunting.
That's true. And I mean, I don't know. When I look at it, I've got all different types of clients. Some who know really exactly what they want, some who want all the options, and others. But generally, I find they look to us for guidance. And I think the horrible nightmare client that so many people fear or even shy away from even offering custom garments, I don't think there's actually that many. And that's from what I hear from you as well.
Yeah, it has not been my experience. I find that the people on any of these sewing jobs that are the most difficult are the ones that know a little something about it. but they know more than they do.
Yeah.
And so they want things done a certain way, and that might not really be the best way. And so that can be a bit ticklish. But, I think people get a bad reputation for being demanding. And I don't really mind it if it's fair, because I want to do beautiful work and they want to have a beautiful dress. And so I don't have a problem. I'd rather that than someone who's just like, oh, I don't care, whatever, it's fine. I'd rather collaborate with someone who is a little bit demanding,
Yeah. And it's, I mean, I love you saying that, because say, I never wanted sort of big factory style. It was always that, to that collaboration with somebody and to design something special for you, something that goes with your hair color, with your taste, with your way of moving, like that's the exciting part.
And something that no one else will have.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I never make the exact same thing more than once.
Yeah.
And I think that people like that.
Oh, yeah.
That, they're not going to go to an event and see somebody wearing something the same as what they're wearing.
Yeah. And the fit is also like something that's probably difficult to achieve. I mean, there's some people who have like, looks like the standard sizing is made for them, but like that's very few people. Most people always have some sort of trouble, and when they kind of wear something that really fits, that's just a totally different.
And it depends what you're doing too. It's funny, when I worked on the soap opera and when I work in the theater, I would say the most common question asked in a fitting, does this make my ass look big?
Yeah.
And what is very funny is that in the flamenco world, having a big bottom is actually an asset. People actually feel good about that, and so it's very funny. It's just different.
That's very true. Yeah, actually, I had a fitting like that the other day. Yeah, so where she had quite, and she's like, okay, well, let's take it in a little bit below the butt to kind of, bring the butt out a bit more. Yeah, very true. Actually, speaking about flamenco, how did you get into the whole world of flamenco?
A friend of ours, my husband's a stage director, and we collaborated for many years. And an actress who had been our leading lady was doing a one-woman show, and we went to support her and to go see her. And it was about an American going to Spain to study flamenco, and she danced in it. And I thought, wow, I didn't know she could do that. That is awesome. And then a class was offered, a workshop I belonged to a gym, and there was a workshop, and I took it and loved it, and then kept dancing, moved to another teacher. And the first year there was a recital, I said, oh, no, I can't. But I went to just see, what is everyone wearing? What are they doing? And then the following year I did the recital, but I wore something that was kind of, didn't really call a lot of attention to me. But then fast forward a couple of years and I was making things. I was making a series of, blouses for all of us to wear. I was saying before the recital, kind of giving notes. Listen, if you have a quick change, decide what you want to wear before we get there, and get a buddy to help you change, things like that. Yeah. And so it just sort of grew. And then in that, I'm going to do a recital. What's online anyway for flamenco? I found the CMOF, the Flamenco Fashion Show, and what ended up going. And then that kind of blew my mind, in the sense that I had worried, as an American, I have no Latina blood whatsoever, that I did not really know what was acceptable and what wasn't. And then I went to the fashion show and I saw, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Anything you want, yeah.
And so the first time I went was 2009.
Wow.
And then ever since, from that point on, then I just wanted to do it very badly. And it took a couple of years until I actually began to make it happen.
Yeah. So I think that's also like what to think that, you know, you've been like, you're not coming like from an accounting background, like, you know, so you've been in the whole, you know, in the industry sort of. So there is obviously a lot of things that you learned in your previous professional life that are really, really helpful there. But it took some time to catch momentum, let's say, because I think something that comes up quite often is that people get discouraged like fairly quickly. You know, there's this like, oh, you know, I've been kind of trying to get this going and, you know, it isn't working. And then when you actually dig down, it's like, okay, now how long have you been doing it? What's, you know, oh, well, I started in August. You're like, what? You know, so it's like something that is helpful to see that, yeah. And I mean, my experience is the same, you know, that it's sort of from the first few orders until you think, yeah, you now have your own studio, you don't have to share anymore, you know. So I mean, that's taken some time to develop, and I think that's a good thing too, you know, because you don't want to be I
still get discouraged. I think all of us get discouraged, and I think that's okay, because our moods, you know, come and go. But when I worked designing the soap opera, what I think people don't realize is that was a very, very corporate gig. It wasn't like the feeling you have when you work in the theater. It was very constrained. And so to go from that to being the sole proprietor of a business where you have to make all of the decisions, or you get to make all of the decisions, you know, but you have to also do all of the tasks, which in the corporate world are very defined, and we all are on our little track. And so even though I had, you know, design skills, I had sewing skills, which were quite rusty when I started because I hadn't really known for 20 years. Still, you know, it was a big adjustment, and such a feeling of freedom to be able to be one's own boss.
Oh, that's so true.
Corporate setting for many, 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 many years.
Yeah. But it is a double-edged sword, you know. It comes with, like, you can't hide behind anybody, you know.
I have the freedom to work 7 days a week.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can't blame it on anybody. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's actually, there's something like that I heard fairly recently that I really resonated, comparing like the corporate world with working for yourself. And it was that the corporate world is like a team sport, you know. It's like playing football, you know. Then everybody, the ball gets passed around, and then you do your bit, and then you pass it on, and so the whole thing works. Whereas like when you work for yourself, that's like playing golf. That ball just sits there, and if you don't hit it, nothing will happen
there.
You know, and that's something that I think takes some adjustment, because I don't think we kind of brought up with that attitude or that you know, way of looking at things. And so I think takes
also you know, a bit of a generalization, but in my generation, women were not brought up to think of themselves as being running businesses. You know, taking business courses was something I never even thought about, or computer courses or anything like that. I was a creative person, and, you know, isn't that enough? What?
Yeah, that's just the fun part of it.
So that's been an adjustment. You're just out there.
Oh, definitely. So if you could start again, is is there something that you do differently, knowing what you know now?
I don't know that I would. I feel like, starting in a small way worked, and I think I would choose that again. In other words, I never, some people when they start a business, they go out, they get a big loan from the bank, and they get, stationery and business cards and all these kinds of things that I didn't do any of. I've never borrowed money from the bank. It's always, and so I just, started very small and did what I could afford to do. And I would recommend that, because the idea of taking out a loan and then having to pay it back, I would hate that.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Or, starting out and saying, and I'm going to have X number of employees and all of that. I've just started small and want to keep it fairly small, actually.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to know. I'm definitely with you on that one. Like the most, so many people, like they worry about the website and the stationery, whatever. I think the most important thing is, let's just see first whether we can actually sell something.
And also, if you like doing it.
That's the thing. Yeah. You want to be very careful. I've seen lots of companies grow, and then you end up being a manager, and you watch other people do the things that you actually love doing. So to keep it small is a very conscious decision. Yeah.
And not the American way, I must say.
Yeah, but your way. And that's
here it's always just make it bigger, bigger. And I'm just not really into that at all.
Yeah.
I think that when it gets bigger, you just lose control also. Oh,
yeah, you do. Definitely. It turns into a totally different animal, and it's just, yeah. And I've seen that happen. Actually, first time I really saw it in a software company. And I joined it when it was like 40 people. It was already sort of an established company, but it was still fairly small and growing rapidly. And it started off with just 4 mates and an idea, And then by the time there were like 40 employees, like they were just up over their head and all frustrated or all stressed out because they loved writing software. And all of a sudden, the guy who loved writing software, all of a sudden was the, head of research and development. He had nothing to do anymore with what he actually loved doing and what he was good at. And so that's always the thing, like when you grow, you have to be very careful to know or to think about how you actually want to grow. Yeah, definitely.
I had a previous business with a partner that was a theatrical costume shop. And we did have employees. I would say maybe we had at the most maybe 5. And I just became management. And I hated it. Yeah. And, discontinued the business because that wasn't what I wanted to do. And instead I got married, traveled around the country, designed plays, and got out of making costumes entirely for a long, long time.
Yeah. So if you could give one piece of advice to somebody who's just starting out, or even maybe just with the idea in their head, what would you tell them?
I would say it's very important to listen to your instinct, your stomach.
Yeah, I love that.
Because if, we all feel like, we have to take every job. We have to do this. We have to do that. And sometimes, you meet someone and you just think, I just don't like her. This is just not going to go well. And if you feel that is true. If you work all day on making a dress and you are just frustrated with the machine and you just don't like doing it, it's just not getting done, and you have several days like that, then maybe you ought to think about, is this something I really want to do? not just because I said that I wanted to do it, but because my own body is telling me, oh, no, why do I have a stomach ache? Why am I stressed out?
Yeah, that's
why
good.
do I just want to
I think that's the most valuable advice anybody can give. Yeah, to just listen to your
just trust yourself.
Wisdom. Yeah, that's brilliant. Beautiful. So where can people find you if somebody is now all excited and wants address?
Well, I do have a website. It's called SallyLesserDesigns.com. And I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I am also just on Facebook. I find that I actually get more traffic just on my own personal page.
Sure.
I'm hoping this year to be more on, Instagram. But I can't say that the marketing is my favorite part of being a business owner. So I need to do a bit more on that this year. But
Great.
I'm out there.
Wonderful, wonderful. We'll put the links below the video so that people can find you and can get in touch whenever they want.
Great.
Well, thank you so much. That was so exciting and lovely to have you. And I'll speak to you soon. And
fantastic.
I hope if you want to leave a comment, get in touch with Sally. If you've got any questions, just leave a comment or get in touch with either of us. And
yes, I'd love to hear comments. That would be great.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you. Adios.
Adios.